This time I've got that Sony CCDTRV108. That's a high 8 Handycam, late model high 8 Handycam. They've even removed the stereo sound. It only has mono. That had given to me. It's not working. We're going to get this one working. Then I'm going to do a shootout between this and various other cameras in standard definition. So let's get this one fixed and then we'll do a quick shootout. So this is the Sony high 8 camera that was in the collection of cameras. Let's say this one's got the classic 3123, I think was the error. Anyway, it's got the classic shutdown when you try to load a tape. So it's indicating that the take-up spool is not turning. That's generally what that error means. I'm just going to get something on the bench to protect the camera. This one's in pretty good shape, and this one's likely going to be one that I'm going to sell after I'm done here. So I'm going to start by opening the camera up. Good old hand straps. These all fail. Sometimes it's to the advantage just to remove this because this is all going to flake off and get all over the place. So generally what I do on these is I remove the back, just leave the strap. We can cut this and remove this part of the strap that's become very, as you can see, the black crap is just coming all off of this thing. We're getting up with little pieces of rubber all over the place. So let's just get rid of that first. So with the hands of a surgeon, we're just going to put a little cut here. See, no different than taking out your appendix. I'm just going to a little cut here. Cut off the stitches that hold this together. And this will just pop right off. Not like the guy that gave me a camera, a broken camera. Well, it wasn't broken, it was one that was digital 8 only, no analog playback. So I ended up removing the chassis from it and putting it onto one that I had that was a digital 8 with high 8 playback. Ended up putting the guts, the chassis, onto that camera because that camera, the chassis was shot, but the actual circuits were okay. So I ended up transplanting the guts from one to the other. This is something that everybody that has these type of cameras with this type of deteriorating grip should do. Just throw that thing in the garbage, because you see now we can still attach this as a hand strap. Now of course we've lost the Velcro that was stuck on there. But what we can do is we can just take a regular safety pin, you know, like the type of pins that would have been used to pin clothing and stuff, and just put a safety pin through the grip here at the size you want, and that will hold that grip in place. But I can also just use this double buckle clamp to secure the strap. That might be an even easier solution. Is just to put this clamp on and feed the strap through this clamp to hold it in place. There, something like that. That way it'll hold the clamp, it'll hold the strap in place, and it's still adjustable. And it's not going to shed any more black crap all over the place that I can clean that off again. Now we can begin the work on the camera without having to get all that black crap from the hand strap falling inside, contaminating the inside of the camera. We'll start by removing the screws. It's going to be the standard problem on this, guaranteed. It's going to be the edge connectors. And that's what I'm going to do, is I'm just going to unplug the edge connectors, reseat them, and then give it a try, see whether it'll complete a loading of a tape and make a recording. And if it works, which I'm pretty confident that it will. But did my screwdriver not get magnetized properly? As promised, I'll take this one out, take out a digital 8, I'll take out a mini DV and that DVD camcorder, and I'll just go and and shoot a couple of minutes of test shots. Now I'll up-res everything to 1080 so that YouTube can give it a break. And we'll see how the picture looks between the analog camera's digital camera. So I'll shoot some footage with this. I'll shoot some footage with digital 8 cameras and mini DV. And we'll take a look at the differences in the picture quality, and where the differences are going to be on the digital formats is obviously going to be the quality of the CCD or CMOS sensor. For that matter, I could, if I forgot to charge the battery, I could fire up my 3-chip camera as well and put it in DV mode. But I don't want to make this a big production. Unplug this ribbon cable here, and then I can pop off the sides. Unlike that piece of junk I took apart yesterday, these are a breeze to work on. Undo the 2 connectors there. I'm going to remove the shield. And this should have the camera torn down to the point where I need to get to the troublesome connectors, which are these ones right down here. The one that's the most problematic is the one that connects the front switches, which I think was this one right there. Anyway, we're going to reseat them all, and we're just going to do this. We're just going to unplug them and plug them back in, all 4 of these ones. And then I can fire it up. I got a power supply. I can fire this up without putting it together to make sure that it works. Make sure that it threads the tape. And the other one is this one right over here. Okay, as you can see, this one's got a couple of surface-mounted electrolytics in it. It's got 5, it looks like 5 or 6. They generally have not been real problematic on these machines. I got to get an AV cable. It also has an S output, but it has an AV cable output. It's not the same one that the ones with this one don't think has stereo sound. This is just a monaural sound unit, so it'll just have a standard AV cable, which is just a stereo type audio video cable. Our stereo type audio cable, I should say. Let me grab a cable and a power supply and a tape, and we'll check this one out. So the AV cable just plugs in. It's just a standard AV cable, right? Like you'd use for plugging an old phone in or Walkman into your stereo system, because it's not a stereo camera. Okay, let's see whether this works. I've got power. My screen has turned blue. If I put it into camera mode, do I get a picture? I have a picture. Excellent. So the camera's working. I'll put it into playback mode. I have an old tape that I recorded years ago. This is an old wedding that I did probably 30 years ago. One of the master tapes I still have, which I'm going to probably erase because I no longer need it. Okay. Close this down. And it threads. Excellent, that part works. Let's try playback. And it's turning. And I have color bars. All the interference you would expect to get from a plasma screen. Okay. I should probably put this on an analog monitor so that it looks proper. And put it on the other TV. That shows the nice burn-in on that tube. It's bad. Anyway, these shots were recorded on EVW300 when I was using that camera still. So, looks like it's playing great. Looking good. It's playing back perfect. Excellent. So I can reassemble the camera now, and then we'll do a test run with it. But it's playing perfect, and it wasn't playing before, so that's a good sign. I will just rewind the tape and make sure that that's working properly and that we're not going to eat a tape or anything. Everything's looking good. Actually, looks better with the high contrast lighting. I got the shop lights out now. I just have the two lights on either side of the bench lit up here. That actually gives a good effect. Nice strong lighting. It will eject the tape. You can watch the mechanism as it unwraps. All right. Okay, so let's get this camera back together, and then I'll take it out. I've already charged the battery up, so got a battery ready to go. It's an M-type battery, which is batteries I didn't have. So I couldn't even try out my other digital 8 camera that I've got because I didn't have an M-size battery. Well, I did have an M-size battery for my SLR. I didn't realize that until I opened up my SLR and realized that it used an M-size battery. But anyway, let's throw this one back together. We'll take it out and do some test shots and show you guys the comparison between various different cameras in standard definition, because I think you will notice a difference. And I'm going to digitize them all the same. I'll shoot it on analog, but I'm going to transfer it over using a digital 8 player that can play analog, so that we'll get a fair comparison between all of them. I tell you though, it's kind of different sitting here in the dark with all the lights out except for the two lights on either side of the bench. Like even when I'm working, it just gives a totally different perspective on how things look. And I'm sure the video looks a little different too. I usually have so much light on in here that you'd almost get a suntan from it. But I turned them out just so that the CRT monitor would look good. These cameras go together really easy. This is one thing that Sony did exceptionally well, was engineer their cameras so that they could be serviced. And if we remember that little piece of crap that I tore down yesterday, the amount of screws it had just to take it apart, and even at that it didn't want to come apart. Gotta plug this in the right way. Which way is it going in? It goes in this way, I think. Yep, that goes in like that, and then this next plug just plugs in here. And the side cover just slides on just like that. Real simple. The right side cover, again, one thing that Sony did exceptionally well was build camcorders, and they really are the only camcorders I don't mind working on, is these ones. I dislike working on every other brand. Panasonic and JVC were a joke. To try to take them apart to do any work on them. Hitachi were a joke. You know, it's like they just kind of threw them together, and they were laughing as they left the factory, saying, "Ha ha ha, good luck for anyone trying to fix this piece of crap. Whereas Sony, and some people like Sony, some people hate Sony, but I always like Sony. They designed their camcorders like they designed their broadcast cameras, something that was relatively easy to take apart and tear down and fix.
Except their micro-sized mini DV. Now those are a nightmare.
Because they knew that at some point in time or another, all these cameras are going to require servicing. So I'm going to shut the camera off now because you guys don't need to see me putting a bunch of screws in, and we'll pick this up with some footage that I've shot with this and other cameras. I don't want to get too carried away with this little demo. So I'm going to try to keep things fair. Yes, 2 of these cameras are HD cameras. They're tape-based HDV. They will record an HD signal on a mini DV tape. But I've got them both set to standard DV for this test. I will do some shots between these two in HD because this video is being rendered out in HD anyway, so I will do some shots from both of these cameras in HD just so that you can get an idea of how good they can look. But for the initial comparison, we're going to compare a high 8 camera with a digital 8 camera. Now this one's got a high 8 tape, this one's got a regular 8 tape, but that's okay because digital 8 would record just fine on standard 8mm tape. It would record with no difference in quality between a digital 8 or between a high 8 tape and a regular 8 tape. It was all marketing. The high 8 tape was higher quality, which could result in fewer dropouts, but quality wise they were identical. We'll also throw this little DVD camcorder into the mix, and I can either record onto a memory stick, which I don't have in here right now. I'm going to record just onto a DVD disc, I think. And we'll use this HC3, which is a mini DV camcorder that will record in standard definition or HD. This has I think it's a 4 megapixel sensor. So in theory, because digital 8 and DV have identical quality from the tape format, they should look the same, but I'm guessing that this one is going to look better because it's got a 4 megapixel CD or CCD. Actually, this is a CMOS. This one's a 4 megapixel CMOS. This one is a 3 CCD camera. So in DV mode, this should look the best of all of them, and in HDV mode for sure. But we'll do a comparison. And I say I'm going to keep things fair. Everything's going to be rendered out at 1080p at 60 frames, so YouTube won't mess with the compression. And I'm going to keep the aspect ratios correct at 4:3. Okay, so let's take these out and we'll do some shooting and we'll compare them. I'm not going to do a lot of shooting. I'm just going to do a couple shots for each one and we will do a comparison. This is the high 8 camera that I just repaired. Should be set for I have to get some cars coming by here for a change. Usually there hasn't been anybody on this bridge and now I get 3 people. Got a traffic jam, boy. Has variable speed zoom like the other cameras and it can go pretty quick. This one says it's got a 20 times optical zoom, so it can zoom in a little closer. That's the wind shaking the camera. It's actually quite windy up here, as you can probably hear. This has got a black and white viewfinder. It's LCD, of course. And that's going to do it for high 8. Next is digital 8.
This is actually the first time I've ever recorded anything on this camera because I didn't even know I had a battery. I didn't know I had a battery for this. It just turns out this camera, like my camera that I just fixed, uses an M series battery. And I didn't even know I had any M series batteries. It turns out my DSLR uses M series batteries and I hadn't really paid attention. I thought my DSLR used just a regular, like a special battery, but nope, standard lithium M. So I can make use of this camera. Not that I would, but this is digital 8 quality. This one here has also got a variable speed zoom. And it's 25 times optical zoom on this one. Pretty busy place for the trucks. There's like one after another. Some days this has got a lineup, depending, I guess, on what ships are coming in or what's going on to the port. Okay, got a bit of a tape damage here. There's a crease in the tape. You're seeing it. That's a crease going around the head drum. This tape got chewed up once. That's digital dropouts, as they're known. That would have been lines of snow going from the top to the bottom on analog. And it's got a pretty fast zoom out as well. This is the DVD camera, recording onto a DVD plus RW. I guess it's only got a 10 times optical, I think. We'll see. Seems like it's got more than that. Does it have? That zooms in pretty good. Maybe this 20 times. It says 40 times, but I thought that was digital. No, 40 times optical zoom. Wow. This one's got a 40 times optical zoom. No wonder it seems to get in so close. You can see the wind shaking the camera. It's pretty windy out today. It's cold too. I didn't wear a jacket. I should have. Look at the zoom on that. That's pretty amazing, considering this is a small camera. Too bad it's DVD. Wouldn't it be great if they had a Blu-ray camera? Wouldn't that be fantastic if they made a Blu-ray HD camera this size that recorded onto little rewritable Blu-ray discs? That would have been great. But you know, we got our SD card now, so we don't need that crap. Anyway, it's getting cold. On this is the HC3 in DV mode, standard definition. This one's also got a variable speed zoom, but nowhere near as accurate as the other one. And it's only a 10 times lens, so this one here, it will zoom in. Let's stop right about there. That's a 10 times lens. Get another truck going into the lockup, as they say, getting his place in line. Windy out. Leave my sunglasses right off my forehead. Gee, I'm going to put them in the car. So there's a minute or so of recording in standard definition. As they say, we're not going to do a lot of shooting here with this. And this one here can zoom, as you can see, it can zoom relatively quickly. Actually, it can zoom very fast, make people dizzy. Let's switch this over to HD mode now. We'll do another bit of recording on it. Recording now in high definition on the HC3. Truck pulls up, scans his RFID, gets the green light to go. The light goes yellow and then red almost immediately. Man, that's quick. You would at least think the thing would stay red for like more than a second. Or why even bother putting the yellow light there? Just have it go straight to red. That's kind of a waste. With the HDR FX1 in standard definition mode. We'll do a full zoom of the lens. I'm not going to use any digital zooms or anything here. Nice thing about this camera is it's got full variable speed zoom, so I can zoom real slow, like a professional camera. Or I can increase the speed and zoom faster. And my camera is not attached to the tripod properly, so it's a little bit shaky. But here's standard definition. There's the truck staging area at full telephoto in standard definition. Pretty windy out here today, as you can probably hear. Even though there's a windsock on the front of the camera, you're probably still getting a lot of noise. There's not a lot of color right now because it's April, so we haven't had a lot of color out in the garden yet. But I just figured I'd pick this spot because, well, we got cars going down the freeway. I am going to turn the camera into HD mode. Now recording in 1080i. Truck's going to go through. He's getting the green light. Doesn't stay yellow very long for those guys. Truck's going into the staging area. I think I'm in autofocus on this too. Yep, should be. So I'll just record for maybe a minute in HD and then we'll move on to the next camera. So this is HD. I'm going to start with what I think is the worst looking of them all, which, surprise, surprise, is the high 8. There's very, very little detail in the texture on the soil. I mean, it just looks like a blurry mess when you compare it to all the other cameras. Now, this was digitized into a DV25 stream, so it was captured. It was actually played back with a digital 8 camera, which does the digitizing and sends it out FireWire. So there was no analog translation or anything. This is completely digital from the tape. It's an analog tape, but it's going into the computer as a digital signal. So this is pretty much as good as you can get off of it. Now we're looking at the DVD. Now notice that it's sharper, but in the road it looks to be more noise. You can see almost macro blocking on the pavement. That's just due to the DVD's encoder, and there's not a heck of a lot you can do about that, but I think it did look better than the high 8. This was recorded direct to a DVD disc and then ripped, but it was encoded as MPEG-2 IPB, long group of pictures, which gives you a bit of macro blocking that you don't get on the DV stream because it's an iframe based system. This is now digital 8. I think you notice right away there is an improvement in the picture. The texture in the soil on the left side of the screen, it's just amazing compared to high 8. High 8 looks fuzzy. It almost looked like VHS. It was so bad. Again, this is a digital recording. And the CCD, I think, on this camera was probably better than the CCD on some of the earlier digital 8 cameras. This was the last generation of digital 8 that Sony produced. It looks good. Let's take a look at a DV camera now. This is the HDR HC3. It's a 16:9 pickup on this camera, and I think it can run a 4:3, but it was left in 16:9. And as you can see, it has a very good picture. The pickup itself is a 4 megapixel sensor, and it looks good.
finally, the HDR FX1. This is a 3 CCD, and this was a, quote, broadcastable quality camera that Sony made. This was the highest quality for the DV format, and it's as good as any professional DV camera that you could buy. It's still standard definition. It's 16:9, and it looks really good. I'm going to show the last two shots in HD just so you guys can see the difference between the two of them. Back to the HDR HC3. This is in HD mode this time. As you can see, it's a big jump in quality now because we're at 1080 lines. 1440 by 1080 is the actual resolution that's recorded onto HDV tape. So it's not up to full 1920 by 1080, but it is still a 1080 scanning line. And it does look good. Let's look at the FX1 now for the same shot to finish this up. One last shot. This is, of course, the best quality of all the cameras that I've got that I took with me. I didn't take my production cameras with me. I could have taken one of my other cameras with me and it would have blown the doors off of all of these cameras even in HD mode. But I didn't take them with me. So this finishes this one up. I say the recap there from worst to best. The poorest, of course, being the high 8 analog, and then through DVD, Digital 8, Mini DV, and of course the HDV looking the best for the tape formats. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye.